Hey guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera. We have a special guest today. This is our dad.
Hello.
You guys are watching the video version.
This is his first time on the video version because we didn't have a video version last time you were on, so we just recorded it.
Remember we were gathered around your dining room table with that one mic stand?
I remember.
And it was the same type of episode. So
Okay.
It's basically where we go. We're doing Am I the A-Hole? It's a subreddit, and people just post their different conversations or different scenarios on Reddit, and we will share some. And then instead of just Ciera and I giving our opinions today, we will also be giving our dad the option to weigh in and share his thoughts.
Yeah,
So,
you got
of
more
experience.
years of experience, more years of wisdom. You can enlighten us, unless we all agree.
Okay.
But maybe we'll have some differing opinions. Before we get into the bulk of the episode, we like to start with a weekly spotlight. So, Megan, do you want to go first? I'm throwing you under the bus.
My weekly spotlight is I had like a full busy week, so I'm just glad that it's the weekend, and I woke up this morning and I thought that I was having to go to work, which is funny because Ciera was mentioning that yesterday. When you like wake up on the weekend, you're like, oh my God, I don't want to go to work today. And then I realized it was Saturday. So I was like, okay, nice. So I'm just happy to have made it to the weekend, and it's Memorial Day weekend, even though I have to work next Monday, but it's fine.
My weekly spotlight, I think, is from yesterday. I had my schedule for work, and I had like a blank slot that like was technically on my schedule, but it was like if we have someone get admitted, then like this is for that. But then no one got admitted, and which technically didn't like lessen my treatment time, because this whole thing of like my eval that I had scheduled was like a part B was like only 30 minutes, and I spent closer to an hour with them, and then someone that's supposed to be in a group.
An eval was scheduled for 30 minutes?
Yeah, I don't know what that was about. It was a part B. I don't know.
You guys don't know. You don't care.
But, and then I had someone that was supposed to be in a group that like was doing something else, and so I had to do them separately. So really my time kind of washed out either way.
But you didn't
like,
have
we didn't have an
an
admit. So that was nice. And I got done kind of early.
Nice.
Okay. What is your highlight from the past week?
My highlight. My weeks are always crazy at work, as you know. So, couple highlights. Last night I met some friends and had some beverages. And then last night you guys texted me and said come over for a podcast. So
like Meg and I do our kind of planning of, I mean, we podcast typically every weekend, so we try to look like, okay, what do we have that we're podcasting
We're like,
about?
do we have something planned? And sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't.
We had it planned of like, oh, doing a Red episode with Dad. We had not asked him, and so I was like, okay, let's send him a text and see if he's available tomorrow.
yeah, so
And you are, so
always great to see
it works out.
my girls.
Okay.
Book
We'll
updates.
do a quick book update because we always do that.
Okay.
I don't think you have any book updates. You're still working your way through
Sure.
Atomic Habits.
or
I'm not
Thursday Murder Club.
a reader
I
like
think
you
2 years
guys.
ago.
I am slowly getting through The Hotel in Nantucket. Honestly, the audiobook is the only thing getting me through this book at this point, but I'm planning on finishing it today. I just like have not been like the previous books I read by Ellen Hildebrand. I liked the characters enough where I didn't mind that like the plot seemed kind of like pointless. But this one, like, I just kind of don't care about any of the characters, so I don't really care about the book. But it's our book club book, so I need to finish it. So I'm listening to it on Spotify.
I just finished it yesterday. I gave it 4 stars. I will say, I don't know what I was thinking. Like, there's like some different plot points, I guess, where it's like, you're like, oh, I wonder like who like this person could be. There's like this character that we don't know who it is, and it's like this, I don't know how to describe it. Blogger who like no one knows her true identity. And, like, the hotel is, like, waiting to see if she comes and reviews the hotel. And, like, that gets revealed at some point of, like, you know, the blogger, did she not show up, and, like, who's her identity? And I kind of was like, I don't know what I was expecting. But I was like, am I stupid? Just for, like, not seeing it coming.
Oh, I haven't been putting that much thought into who it is.
It was kind of like, I mean, it was a good reveal, I guess. But I was like, am I just stupid? That was, like, my thought. It was a decent book. There's like some paranormal stuff that I didn't really feel like was totally
pointless.
necessary.
It so far has been pointless. It's almost as if like they're using it as like a narrator tool to like be like this all being, but like nothing's really. And I'm 90% of the way through the book. Nothing's really.
Having finished it, I also don't really feel like it was necessary.
So
like the only plot point it really served was that like it
drew people
to the hotel. But then like that's about it.
So, anyways. Moving on to
Fun.
Next segment. Typically, Ciera and I will just do like little catch-ups, things that have been going on. So Ciera had some
storm stuff. We've all been here in Des Moines.
Yeah.
We got some crazy storms this week. Did you have sirens go off in, like, by your house yesterday morning?
Yes, it was, we were up at like
Did your
4:30 because
your
of the
phone go
wind.
off?
start blaring?
No, just the sirens went off, and then, of course, the wind was banging against the
'Cause
house, so we went in the basement.
I started hearing.
That's funny. I thought that you wouldn't have gone to the basement.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I like woke up at like 4:45 and I could hear the sirens going off, and then I was like, I went on my phone to check like the National Weather Service to see like if there was a warning going on, and there was. And then like 2 seconds later, my phone started like doing the emergency
Blaring.
alert thing, and I was like, oh my god, that's so loud. And I couldn't get it turned off for a
No,
second.
yeah.
I was like, what is happening?
I
And
had
then
woken
Ciera
up
came
and
in.
I woke up around 4:30 because I think it's when the sirens first started going off. But they were kind of like on and off. And I looked at my phone and I could tell it was like rain starting in 20 minutes. And I was like, well, if I'm going to take Vegas out, I might as well take him out now. So then I took Vegas out to go to the bathroom before it started raining and getting too windy. And he peed and pooped, which was good. Because then later I didn't have to worry about that. So
And then Ciera came into my room. She's like, the sirens are going off. And I was like, yeah, I know, I'm awake. And so then we all went, including Vegas, to the basement and then hung out there until. And also, it makes you wonder, what are the meteorologist hours? Because
why is Jason Sudeiko working at 4 a.m., but then he's also like working at 8 p.m.?
like
the other
whenever
day.
whenever the weather needs him.
Storms
that's just
dictate
crazy.
their schedule.
But like, don't they have different meteorologists?
Yeah, they do.
So like,
Sometimes they're both in though. Like,
they're like, we need you.
I think
I
We need
need
they're
both
run
of
in.
you.
that big of a storm. I think multiple are on
Yeah.
staff.
That's crazy. I always think it's so funny when they're like keeping track of like the storm in relation to like
their
where
studio.
their studio
And they're like,
is
and
at.
if you guys get like want to get ready to take
yeah,
cover,
they're talking to like the producers and stuff. Like, you guys can leave if you want to, like go in the basement or whatever. And it's like, oh, it's like real.
Yeah.
You guys aren't like immune to this.
yeah.
So.
Anything else you wanted to talk about or
Were
catch
you?
up with?
Because we had the tornado warning yesterday, but then we had one a couple days ago. Were you like at work, just like chilling
Riding
when
it
they were
out?
going off, or
This
what?
was yesterday.
No, on
No.
Tuesday. Like the
What time
afternoon
was
storms.
that? Yeah, I was at work.
There's one like around 9 a.m. and there's one closer to like 4:30. At least where I was at.
Sad to say, you're just kind of getting used to it.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel like it's crazy
like
how many
normal.
storms there are? Like within
Yeah.
the past couple months, I feel like there's been so many crazy like thunderstorms and just
Mhm.
weather stuff.
You guys see the all the footage on Greenfield?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sad.
You know what's weird too is like I've noticed like especially like this past week when I'm like listening to them talking about the storms, I almost, even though it's like tornado warning and it's like they're trying to like track the tornado warning through, sometimes the wording and stuff that they use, I'm like, so is like a tornado actually down on the ground or is it just like?
Yeah, they're like with this debris spot right here, and I'm like, does it mean
I'm just
it's
kind of like,
tornado?
is when you say like my city in this many minutes out, is a tornado coming or is it just like a rotation?
Can you be more specific? Does it
And-
matter?
Yeah, and like obviously they don't know like the intensity until like after the fact always, but like, you know, Friday morning like it was a tornado warning and they're like saying, you know, this many minutes out, and I'm like, so what should I be expecting?
Yeah.
But it was fine.
Well, this is just trying to make everybody safe.
I know.
That's
Just
Our
Yeah.
the
patio
end.
furniture got knocked over. We could hear it when we were in the basement. Pew, it gets knocked over off the
Yeah.
deck. You know, a tree fell like on our grandma's roof. Did you know that?
Yeah, I talked to your sister yesterday, and
Mm-hmm.
she said
There was like
Bill
a party
came over
there.
and you guys got
like,
the truck up there,
'Cause we
the,
had talked
the
to-
winch or something, and
I don't know. I wasn't there, but like,
cut
because
the
we talked
tree
to
off.
Maggie, and like Jerry and Bill went over there, and then Maggie and Sam went over there, and then like Haley and Ashton went over there, and then our mom went over there, and I was like, my goodness,
Tree
should
party.
I be going?
I know I was kind of like, you guys are making me feel like I should be heading over there, but I wasn't planning on it.
But yeah, Hayden
her
said
house is.
they-
I mean, it's damaged, but fine.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank God the family can do that, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
we've got the equipment.
yeah.
We're also all going to New York next weekend, everybody. 1 week from now.
I'm
We
like
still
not-
have to finalize
I'm not
our
prepared at all.
itinerary. But I think we're mostly just kind of going with the flow.
We're
So,
going to MJ.
I have
on
been. Here's
Broadway.
what I've been doing. I can show you. Because we're kind of keeping a loose itinerary, but what I've been doing is on
That was my
Apple
idea.
Maps.
You need to like shout me out for that.
What?
To like pin things. That was my idea.
But I made a guide.
Okay.
So
Well,
I
Yeah.
have a
Dual
thing
credit.
of New York guide, and I've pinned different places, restaurants, wherever
Wow,
on
we're
my
gonna be
phone,
busy.
just as options to have things if
Because
we're
I feel like half
oh,
the time
if
what
we're
we're gonna
around
want
something.
is just like what's near us.
Yeah, so this could kind of help with figuring that out. We know we're doing a Broadway show for Saturday night, and so we're doing MJ the Musical because that seemed intriguing to all of us, and we've never been to Broadway, so we have nothing to compare it to. And then Saturday, I mean, we're just going to see.
We don't really know.
That is Saturday. Sunday, we're going Saturday through Monday. Okay.
And it'll be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay. Should we get into our subreddits? I need to pull it up.
Sorry, that was my
What is rolling? Oh, it's the coaster.
my coaster.
Okay. First one is, am I the a-hole for telling my wife's colleague that she has no say in our life as she had divorced her husband? I need to find where it starts because there's an edit at the top of this. Okay. My wife Lisa and I have been together for a while. She has a colleague named Madison, she also works from home, who visited us yesterday with her boyfriend Ian. My parents are sick and live with us. Madison was surprised when she saw them and asked, "You didn't send them to a nursing home?" I was annoyed and said no. She then asked who did most of the work, and I said it was Lisa. She replied, "I'm sorry she's married to a misogynist like you, forcing her into slavery by making her take care of your parents." I snapped, "Didn't you divorce your husband when he lost his job?" Lisa told me that. She asked what that was supposed to mean, and I said, "Someone raised in a culture that considers marriage disposable isn't someone to take advice from." She yelled, but Lisa sided with me. Ian sided with Madison. Madison said I had no right to comment on her life, and I said stop interfering in others' lives then. So, I hope these aren't their actual names, because that would be very bold if they used like their actual names. So, thoughts?
I was kind of spacing out when you read that because I was pulling my first one up.
Well, just
So, summarize.
go through it again. Sorry.
Were you not listening either?
Yeah, there's just a lot to it. I think I got the gist, but
Am I the a-hole for telling my wife's colleague that she has no say in our life as she had divorced her husband? The gist of it, 'cause I'm not going to reread the whole thing, is that his wife's colleague came to visit them and noticed that his parents live with them because they're both sick. She asked, like, she was surprised they hadn't just sent them off to a nursing home, so she asked who takes care of the parents. He said his wife does, and then the colleague was like, "Oh, like, I would never be married to someone who would, like, force me to take care of the parents," essentially. And he was like, "Well, you're divorced." So
I don't really understand the correlation.
I do.
Honestly.
I think it was just
Maybe he's like, well, you don't seem like someone would get along with you anyways, or
I think it's irrelevant, divorce or not, but I think it was a way for them to
Him to
just take a
dig.
jab.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like their thought is
Well, I think
saying-
she's overstepping. Like, she is overstepping and saying
Correct.
that, and so
He
she deserves a little
yeah.
pushback.
I think
little
that's
bit.
all it was. I don't think it's irrelevant,
Yeah.
divorced or not, but it was a way for them to take a jab back at him.
I agree. I think that she overstepped. I don't think the divorce, like, I feel like he could have easily just said, like, it's literally none of your concern, like
Yeah.
what we do or
Correct.
don't do.
But that wouldn't
Her
give
being-
But
that
that
wouldn't give her a jab.
That would give the punch that she needs. And so
Mind
he's
your own
probably just
business.
like, well, I'm still married and you're not. So
Yeah.
she's fine with it.
Yep.
If she was really not fine with it, she would have divorced me. I'm guessing is his roundabout
Yeah.
way of connecting it.
Or talk about it. You don't have to. Oh, gotta get divorced. We don't agree.
Okay, so luckily because I sent this one to myself yesterday when I was looking at stuff, and I can see the title line and I remember most of the details, but it has since been removed. So I will try my best to fill in the gaps. Am I the a-hole? My 32-year-old male husband wouldn't wait 3 hours for me, 34-year-old female, who is 4 months pregnant, to get out of work before driving 3 hours north for the holiday. He thinks I'm being crazy for causing an issue, but and being lazy, not wanting to drive myself. So the situation was that her parents live like 2 or 3 hours north, and they're planning on going there for like the weekend for kind of a long weekend vacation. And he was originally going to, like, she had to work Friday. He was going to be done like Thursday and was wanting to head up Thursday afternoon to kind of like get started on the weekend. And so originally their plan was to drive up separately, drive 2 cars up because she had to work Friday. Then for whatever reason, he decided he wasn't leaving until Friday, and his plan was to leave at like 12:30, and she's like, "Oh, well, I'm off at 3. Could you just wait 2.5 hours so I don't have to drive myself up 3 hours, like 2 hours after you leave?" And he said no. And so they drove separately. And so that was the situation.
I'd probably be annoyed. if
I
I
would
was her.
also be like, are you crazy? Why are we...
We don't know the whole story behind the scenes. What does he have to meet somebody to fix something, or what's dictating the timeline? I don't know.
I think he just... The impression I got from the post, which is just the one person's perspective,
if there's nothing
was that
detrimental,
he just wanted to start his vacation.
Like that he had to meet
sooner.
the plumber or something.
It's
I
not
would
their house.
I would say
it's
get
her
along
parents'
with your spouse and wait.
Don't you think it would look bad? Because it's her parents' house. And so he's showing up
it's
beforehand.
That's
preemptively.
strange to me.
She said that her family doesn't know she's pregnant yet. So I don't know if that matters or
What
not.
does
But
that
like,
have to do with anything?
well, it was just like that would further, like, if the family was like, you're making your pregnant wife drive up
Oh.
on her own, like, blah, blah, blah.
Come on.
Pregnant or not,
Yeah.
I think I would feel weird going to my spouse's parents' house
I'd be like,
without
oh,
her.
she'll be up in 2 hours. She's
Yeah,
right behind
don't-
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'd
strange.
be like, well, why didn't you wait?
Yeah, because you.
I feel like I
that's
can
weird.
partially understand like his antsiness because like you know how if his plan was to go up on Thursday and he's like, oh, like I just want to get there but like as soon as I can. But like at a certain point you should be like, okay, it's kind of ridiculous to not wait like 2 more hours.
Like, you're so close at that point, and it seems like such a hassle to
Well,
bring the 2 cars up.
the other side, I'm getting old. Make peace and just wait.
Okay. Next one I have is, would I be the a-hole if I insist my wife needs to tell her age when we meet new people? My wife and I met 20 years ago when we were 22 and 25 respectively. Back then, we looked the same age, but now at 45, I look like I'm in my mid-50s, while at 42, my wife looks like she's in her late 20s. We have lived in the same neighborhood since we got married, but we recently had to move and change our kids' school. So nothing prepared me for how incredibly awkward it would be to enroll our kids in a new school and get to know new neighbors when I look like I'm in my 50s and my wife looks like she's in her late 20s and our kids are both teenagers. It's one thing for people to assume I have a controversially young wife when it's just the 2 of us. I couldn't care less, but it's another when I have to introduce our children because if they think my wife is around 28, it would make me seem like a creep who got an underage girl pregnant. I asked my wife if she could start mentioning her age when we introduce ourselves. But she said I'm being ridiculous and that it would be incredibly awkward for her to do so.
I think it would be awkward for her to do so. Like, if someone cares that much, like, they will find out how old she is.
I mean, sounds like strictly his opinion
Isn't
only.
that so funny?
I think it's really odd.
I can't imagine it is that drastic
I would agree.
of a...
And be happy.
difference.
And like also,
Be proud your
people-
wife looks that young, I guess.
people are smart. If they realize like you have 2 teenagers, they're probably like, oh, she's older than she looks then.
Correct.
You know? And could you imagine like showing up and meeting
Imagine
someone?
if someone had no thoughts at all of, like, there's a huge age gap between you and your wife, and she's just like, I'm like this old, by the way, not
Correct.
20. Like, that would
you'd
be
like, oh, she's full of
Because I'm
herself.
sure you're
I'd
thinking
be like,
that he robbed the
okay.
cradle. No.
You're like, oh, she's full of herself. She's
Yeah.
like, I'm actually 42, by the way. Like, I know I look like I'm 20.
Yeah, he's
I'd be like-
overthinking it.
I'd be like, girl, no, you
I'd be like,
don't.
I know that. I can tell.
Anyway, I want to look at some of the comments for this one. Someone said, so what if people judge, take it as a, quote, I have a hot wife and they're jealous, unquote, and move on. And someone said, also, unless you're like 5 years old, it's awkward to just throw your age out in introductions.
Yeah.
And just generally speaking, women don't like to say their age.
Correct.
All right. Here's this next one. Okay. Am I the a-hole for not appreciating the surprise getaway my husband planned? For the past month, my husband, 27-year-old male, and I, 28-year-old female, have been in a rut. We've been arguing about so many trivial things. Last week, he randomly asked me if I liked eating s'mores. I said I don't care for them, and rarely do I ever crave them. He then asked me what I thought about cabins and camping. I told him I don't care for either, to be honest, and the only way I would go camping is if it was a glamping experience. He nodded and said noted. Today, he tells me to be ready and dressed by 4 p.m. because we have a date planned. I put on a cute outfit because all he told me was we have a special date planned, and other times he said that the date usually involves us going to a fancy restaurant. So I put on a skirt, some heels, and a top. He sees my outfit, doesn't say anything. The only thing I noticed that was odd was that he brought his backpack with him. I asked him why, and he said he just wanted to put his hoodie somewhere in case it got colder later. We got in the car, and 20 minutes into the drive, I asked him how far is the restaurant we're going to. He smiles and says, about an hour. I pull out my phone and start responding to some work emails to kill time. And then when we arrived to our destination, I honestly got so upset. It was a super tiny trailer in the middle of the West Virginia woods. There was a small picnic table outside and just woods. I I asked him what we were doing there, and he turns to me and says, "Surprise, we're having a couples retreat. Do you like it?" And basically, because this is longer, but he didn't tell her to pack anything. All she had was the clothes that she was wearing and nothing else prepared.
It was like a weekend
And
getaway.
she was like, "Whatever made you think that I would like this or want to do this?" And obviously he's trying to do like a nice gesture, but she's upset.
I feel bad because I want to like root for him, be like, oh, like you tried to like, you know, plan a nice getaway, but like, and like his heart was in the right spot. But like there's some logistical things you need to consider with that kind of excursion. Like to say, don't bring anything. Like how can you expect to go away for multiple days and she's just got like clothes on her back? She didn't bring a phone charger, I'm sure. Her toothbrush.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if, like you said, his heart's in the right place, but he has to realize there's another side. You need to let her know what's going on, so she may not like it, but she might have agreed to do it.
Yeah.
And then pack at least and tough it out for a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it's probably a little
when
frustration.
When I was reading this, it kind of made me think of like, to be known is to be loved. And I feel like, you know.
You said that backwards.
To be loved is to be known.
I thought it was to be seen.
Whatever the phrase is that people say, he just seems like he missed the mark a little bit with like, he probably wants to really do that type of thing and experience, but she does not, and the surprise was for her. And so I think it missed the mark a little bit. And if you wanted to surprise her, there's probably like other things that you could have done that would have been more in her ballpark.
Is she the a-hole for being annoyed or
upset?
Whatever?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, I feel bad for both of them.
Correct.
Yeah.
So do I.
I just feel like they maybe need to work on their communication skills a little bit better. I mean, she seemed like she had expressed that she wouldn't like it. But I don't know if he was just like excited. Maybe he like had this opportunity like to go camping. Like if it was like, oh, I got like this at a discount, or like there's like a weekend.
Maybe sometimes a guy doesn't think things through. Maybe he thought, you know what? She might not like it originally,
like
but she might like it in 2 days.
Or like, I feel like to some people, like glamping is like, oh, they just want to be indoors. And so like maybe, you know, he was like, oh, there's an RV, like a trailer.
Yeah, like it's not like a tent.
Like we're not in a tent. We're not outdoors. So like this is okay. I don't know.
Well, I think us three all agree with her only because we don't care for it.
Yeah.
For
none of us are
campers.
camping
No offense. We just something
not really our
we
thing.
talk about, not our thing. And
we're all kind of like, would we ever want to go camping? And then we're all like,
no,
not really.
I've done it when I was younger and just never fell in love with it. And my family, a lot of them love it. So to each their own.
Yeah. Anyway, next one I have is, am I the a-hole for not walking around a group of store employees? I was at a Family Dollar earlier and I was trying to get to the refrigerated section past the frozen section. This part is directly behind a row of shelves. I was walking that way and there was an employee loading stuff from a cart into the freezer. It was easy to walk past her, but there were 3 other employees standing around chatting with her while she did it. They were fairly large and were standing directly in front of the 3 separate aisles and blocking the freezer. I could have walked around the aisles, then turned back and walked back towards the woman and asked one to move so I could get what I needed. Instead, I said, "Excuse me." Then they moved slightly so I could grab my milk. When I was done and walking away, I heard one say, "She could have just walked around." And the other said, "Mm-hmm." I turned and glared, but then I checked out. I thought what I was doing was completely reasonable because the 3 in the way were literally doing nothing except actively blocking 3 aisles. Blah, blah, blah. Okay.
I have never once, when I've been grocery shopping or anywhere else, like, I can't say never, but like rerouted where I was going instead of just like passing through.
I would agree.
So
I feel like this is a
you gotta
issue.
In that situation, the customer's right and you want them to.
You know what I do hate? Like when you are grocery shopping and it's like really crowded, I hate when people don't have like a sense of like self-awareness of like, am I blocking anything? Like the people that have like their cart on one side but then they're like standing on the other side of the aisle like looking for something, and I'm just kind of like waiting, like, you're gonna move you or your cart so I can get past you. So I think everyone just needs to be more aware.
all right, this one's kind of long, so we'll see if I get tired and summarize. Am I the a-hole for making my husband a chore chart? My husband recently took a job in which he works less and makes less because he wanted to improve his work-life balance. He was previously working a standard 40-hour week. He now works 30 hours or less. Typically starts work between 8 and 9, takes an hour lunch, and comes home between 12 and 3. He usually takes Fridays off. About once a month, he has to stay later at work and comes home around 6. I have worked 40 hours for the past 3 years and recently took a job that has a slightly higher difficulty level for more money. My husband really wanted me to take this job because it's more money and less of a commute. My hours are 8 to 5 with an hour lunch. I usually get home around 5:30 to 6. We split bills 50-50, but have discussed me contributing a higher percentage since I now make more. We haven't done this yet because I just started and have not had the time to figure out details. Admittedly, my husband does several things for the household. He does all the lawn care, cooks meals 2 to 3 times per week, and takes the trash to the dump once a week or every other week. I don't do any of these tasks. When he cooks, I do the dishes. We both do shared laundry and take care of our pets. However, other tasks in our home are not getting done, and I find myself having to spend several hours of my weekend cleaning the whole house to maintain a basic level of cleanliness. If I do not clean on the weekends, which definitely happens because life, it doesn't get done, and I start to feel stressed out because of the mess. So I decided to make a chore chart outlining things that need to be done daily, weekly, and monthly to maintain a relatively clean household. The chart was for both of us and included a spot to mark when and who completed that chore. I suggested a 60-40 split in how the chores are divided since he has more time than I do. I included the chores he already does on the list, and I asked him to add /change/suggest anything he wanted. He was very upset with this idea and said he was not going to clean up my messes and that I just wanted to dictate his free time. I told him I was open to other suggestions, and he had none. I have suggested we hire someone to help out, but he has always been opposed. By the end of the argument, he accused me of being lazy and just wanting him to do everything. He told me that my job wasn't hard because I just started and I'm in training, but the few hours he works are grueling and he shouldn't be expected to do anything more. Blah, blah, blah. My vision is also getting blurry, so that's the end of that.
Wow.
I think, first of all, in like the general sense, granted, I know like we live together, so like we can split stuff up, but like people need to have respect for the people who have to do all this stuff by themselves, regardless of if they have work or not. To me, I feel like she was doing a good job of communicating. I just think they need to like figure out like who does what.
I don't think,
you know what I mean?
I think a chore chart is like good in an organizational sense, but like the thought, like I am thinking of like having a chore chart. I'm just like, I don't want a freaking chore chart. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have like,
I agree.
You do this.
It
Like,
feels micromanaging.
Just decide who is going to do what and make sure it gets done. Like if there's specific chores that you feel like aren't getting done, bring them up to him and say, okay, who wants to do this? So like that way on the weekend if we're cleaning.
I just feel like she's like some of her stuff she's complaining about.
Both just clean together. What if
you're like Saturday morning complaining about? She's like, I have to spend hours on the weekend cleaning. We all do.
I read between
like, you know
the
what
lines.
I mean?
There's bigger issues.
That's how I feel like half the time in these episodes we're like, this is a small problem, but there's a larger issue.
Yeah, I don't think
at play.
I just think this is
a small.
There's other issues. In my opinion, there's only one side on that narrative, but I think sign me up. I want to work 30 hours a week and expect my other half to pay more. And no, sign me up. I'll do it.
I'll do that, and then I'll do the extra chores.
No, I think there's deeper issues with the relationship than that, and this is every little thing just adding on top of that.
I feel like part of the issue is that they disagree on like where the other person's like bringing their value to the household, where it's like clearly they disagree about like financially, like is that important? Does that dictate the hours that we each spend, or like the time that we work? Does that dictate then like if I work more hours, then like you have to do more work at home?
Yeah,
I don't feel like they agree.
And I like mowing lawn. I like doing outside stuff, so I don't tally that on my list because I want to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. So I don't expect, well, there's my 3 hours, so you got to do 3 hours to make up.
You go do your 3 hours of inside stuff.
But I enjoy that stuff.
For 3 hours, you clean for 3 hours.
Yeah, there's other things going on there, and that's my opinion only. But
well, that's what we're here to talk about. Is what we think.
I mean, obviously, like Megan and I split stuff up. I feel like we split things pretty 50-50. I feel like we also like don't keep track, like we don't tally stuff. I mean, aside from like mowing the lawn, like the stuff where it's like obviously like who did this last.
You see laundry laying around, you do it.
Well, it's like,
you do dishes. You don't put it on a piece of paper and say, like, well, I did it.
Like dishes and stuff. Like if I like, especially like in the morning, I feel like if I'm the one staying home, watching Vegas, then like what I will try to do usually is like put him in his crate, and then like because he's a menace around the dishwasher, I'll like wait till he's put away, and then like I'll load her.
I know
in
we
with
used
the
to be so much
dishwasher.
better about dishes, and like we're not bad now, but like when we open the dishwasher now, Vegas is like constantly trying to get in the dishwasher, so like it has caused us to like instead of always putting dishes straight in the dishwasher, we'll like set them in the sink until we can do like a
A
bulk
master load.
Well, I'm an empty nester and I don't have pets, so that's a whole nother element of day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to take care of. And I don't have to deal with it because I'm past that and did it and all good. My life's a little bit simpler at home. But yeah, it certainly adds a lot to your daily life.
Okay. Next one is, am I the a-hole for not going home immediately after hearing my dad passed away? My father died 2 days ago, and I found out 2 days ago. He was very sick for a long time, and I, along with my immediate family, knew he was dying. We all came to terms with it. I visited my father as much as I could. I lived 7 hours away from my parents, and I saw his condition worsen. When he died, I was in shock and cried for a bit, but I knew he wasn't suffering anymore, so I was okay. Same with my mother. She was with him when he died, and when it happened, my mother called me, gave me the news, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Now, my boyfriend met my mother twice and my dad once. However, when he heard that he died, he had a very different reaction than the rest of my family. He had tears, he hugged me. It was as if he had known him for a long time. It's weird because for as long as I've been with him, which is about 4 years, I've always complained about how controlling and insensitive my father was to me and my mother. I won't get into too many details, but he most certainly is the reason for my anxiety now, along with my people-pleasing tendencies. I loved my dad, but he was not great to be around sometimes. Anyway, the point here is my boyfriend had a reaction I would expect, but I also would not expect. I don't know what that means. When my father passed, my mother said she was all right, didn't need help with cooking because her neighbors, who are actual caterers, are making food for her and my brother. And my brother is there. The house doesn't need cleaning, and she has a huge support system. She did say that when it came time to sit down and do the actual paperwork, she'll need my help. Otherwise, she would rather me help her with invitations to the funeral and make a slideshow right now, which I said I would definitely help with. Here's my issue. My boyfriend is making me feel like I'm making excuses for not wanting to go home and see her. He says I need to be there for my mother physically right now and wants me to drop everything, all my scheduled work and doctor's appointments, to drive home. There's literally nothing to do when I get home, and the support I'm giving her now is sufficient, according to my mom. Again, 2 days ago he passed. Yes, I will go home and stay home on the date, the funeral, blah, blah, blah. That's essentially it.
I feel like you have to trust the person to know their own family dynamics best in terms of like what they need to be doing or how they need to show up. So if she feels like what she's doing is sufficient, honestly, like I would imagine it can't be that long until she is going to then be there for the funeral and help with that. So
yeah, we're not sure how much time's passing here. It's for sure. You said it's
well, at the time of this
2 days ago.
Passed 2 days ago or whatever.
And she's got one brother.
Yeah, who's there?
She has sisters too. She said my brother, her mother, her best friends, and her sisters. Sorry. So she has one brother, but then her mom has like other family.
So the brother lives with mom,
or like around where she lives.
Okay, and sisters. So she has support, I would assume, with them living nearby. Yeah.
I feel like my guess would be that her boyfriend is like, well, that's not what I would do. Like,
Correct.
if that was my situation, like, I would be going home.
Correct. I think the same thing.
And so he's probably like, just like, well, why aren't you going home?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's more he's confused than anything, like, why she doesn't feel the need to. Because, like, I think.
Well, it sounds like she had some issues with her dad, obviously. So she's at peace, kind of doing what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And he just doesn't get it. Because that's not what he'd do.
And I feel like if he knows that he would be dropping everything and he would be going home, like, you only have one chance to do this quote unquote right, and so he's probably just trying to make sure
like,
she
don't
feels
regret,
like
not going home
you're
right
doing
away.
the right thing. So
if she has, I don't know what schedule of work is, but I would say if she had time, go.
Or like if you have bereavement leave, like
take
advantage of it to be able to be there,
or split the difference and say to her boyfriend, let's go. I think you're right.
Yeah. She did have additional context saying, yes, I will go home and stay home on June 1st and help out and attend the funeral 2 weeks after that, but I'm not leaving the day after hearing the news, the day before an important work event, to drive home and do nothing. So it sounded like she did have some stuff to worry about.
She said something about doctor's appointments or something.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so she might
She just
have.
said her boyfriend's making her feel like a bad daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, Megan, you already said this, but, like, you know your family best, and everyone, like, grieves differently and has things that they would do differently, so I feel like...
Well, she's surprised about her boyfriend's reaction, too.
Yeah. And, like, I also feel like, because she had mentioned, like, she was surprised, like, how upset he seems. Some people are just really, like, empathetic people, or, like, it makes them think about, like, you know, stuff that they might have experienced, and, like, they know how that affected them, so they just, like, feel so bad for you.
And they're a newer
you know?
couple. She probably never expected to experience that.
Yeah.
Well, they've been together for 4
And
years.
now she knows.
They've been together for
Pardon
4
me?
years.
They've been together 4 years.
Still, that's not
Okay.
a real long time, but
Okay.
they never had to. They weren't put in this situation before.
First time. Okay. Am I the a-hole for abandoning my family at an all-inclusive after my wedding? So we had our wedding at an all-inclusive. It was beautiful, and since we were having a small wedding, it was cheaper than having a big wedding in town. We chose one with very inexpensive flights and subsidized any guests who wanted to come but might have trouble covering the costs. We had 50 guests. The plan was for everyone to come down before the wedding, spend a few days enjoying the sun, and then celebrate with us. My mother got it into her head that this should be a family reunion. She didn't want my new husband's family there, so her plan was to contact our side of the family and tell them to shift their reservations so that they would be coming up later and staying after the wedding. She also invited other people for after the wedding. As long as they were part of my wedding block, that was allowed by the hotel. We actually got a little kickback from a few that overlapped my wedding day. Anyway, my mom didn't inform me, but the hotel did because some of the extras wanted the group price, even though they weren't going to be there until after the wedding. I was upset, but my mom goes into hysterics if confronted. My husband and I decided to just roll with it. The wedding and reception went beautifully. The day following the wedding, I ran into some family that I had not invited for a reason. However, we ran into them in the lobby on the way to the airport. My husband and I decided not to have our honeymoon at that resort. Instead, we flew to one on the other side of the country. Goodbye, Caribbean. Hello, Pacific. My mom blew up my phone wondering where we were. I told her we went on our honeymoon in Baja, California. She was very upset and said I was ungrateful and being childish after all she did, blah, blah, blah. My first question was, did your mom not know you were leaving after the wedding to go on your honeymoon, first of all? Because then...
the daughter's nicer than I would have been.
I know.
We just rolled with it after my mom hijacked my wedding
Sounds like a train wreck.
to make a family reunion.
She's like, oh, so much of the family is going to be in Mexico already. Let's just invite, like, these
Everyone
other
else.
people that weren't already invited, because I don't know why. I didn't talk to my daughter about why these people weren't invited.
Wow.
I mean, not the a-hole.
I would say peace and love and goodbye. And then
It's their wedding.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was out of place.
There's, like, a lot of, not just, like, nothing specifically today, but besides that one, but I feel like we read a lot of these posts where, like, people are really, like, they give in to, like, they let their family, like, push them over. You know what I mean? And they're like, my mom did this, and, like, you know, whatever, we just agreed with it. I'm like, you agreed to that?
Well, it's not all bad. You're just trying to keep the peace.
Well, I feel like with something as big
The more
as
you
But
let someone walk over you, though,
This is an odd
you
situation.
have to, like,
This
set a
is
precedent.
train wreck.
If you continually let people, including family, like, walk all over you, then they're like, oh, she won't mind. She's not gonna mind. Her wedding, we turned into a family reunion. She loved it. Like,
Who wouldn't love it?
it was a great idea.
so I feel like you should have nipped it in the bud before you even got that far. But
It's too bad they didn't discuss it first. It should have never happened.
Also, like, this makes it sound like they were in Mexico, like, days before the wedding, and she's like, we need to get, I don't know how far in advance the mom was planning this, but, like, it makes it sound like she's, like, already in Mexico and is, like, telling people, like, come on down. I don't know if that's the case, but
I don't think so.
probably not. Anyways.
Okay, next one I have is, am I the a-hole for insisting that my damaged items be replaced with the exact copy? I, 21 male, own a set of original design cards from
I
a
need to say
local
something,
artist.
a personal anecdote after this, just, like, something that's been making me mad, but.
Okay.
Can't wait. I bought the cards at 17 at a cheap price, and information I shared with almost everyone I know. The artist is now more famous. I own a few more pieces of work from her. As for the cards, I put them on my work table. I live with my father and stepmother. The house used to belong to my grandfather, and he left the house to me and my father. There's a corner of the living room set as my workspace where I keep the previously mentioned cards. My father and stepmother never touch anything there. Last week, I was in another city for a class project. While I was not home, my stepbrother, 23 male, and his boyfriend visited. My father and stepmother had to go somewhere and left the house to them. The boyfriend got drunk, sat on my chair, went through my stuff, and ended up spilling drinks on my cards. My father and stepmother insisted they pay me for the damage. My stepbrother gave them the amount of money I told everyone I spent on the cards. I told all involved I would not take the money. Instead, they must get me another set of cards as replacement. The cards now cost 10 times as much because of the artist's fame and its rarity. My stepbrother refused to pay that much. I told him I would be happy to file charges. He then searched and found that the artist did a second edition of the cards, same designs and everything, for about 2.5 times the price, and said he could get me those. Again, I insisted on the first edition replacement. My father and stepmother now tell me I'm being unreasonable and just to take the second edition. I refused to relent and told my stepbrother, he and his boyfriend, they had a certain deadline to pay me. Am I the a-hole?
Yes. Like,
Wow.
I am all for someone, like, replacing things that are broken or whatever, but, like, they are trying to reason with you here. I think, honestly, like, she even should have just been okay taking the money, like, to replace it. I know it's not the same.
This is a mail.
Sorry. I missed that. But I feel like the money itself should have been of equal contribution, even though you're not getting the same thing. I don't know. I've never had to replace something that expensive, but
I feel like they were doing a nice gesture by even offering to, like, pay, 2.5 times what you paid with, like, the second edition cards. I don't know how much money we're talking here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, because some people in the comments are saying, like, okay, well, if it's gone up in value since you purchased it, then, like, you should be entitled to, like, the full value that you lost. Like, what if they wanted to, like, sell it at some point?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I just am like, this is hard because
I also, like, don't know how much money we're talking.
right.
Like is it like the difference between like $100 and $250, or
Correct.
is it like
or 10,000 or 1,000?
what are we talking?
That makes a big difference.
Correct.
Because like the smaller the price, then I could see like, okay, then like sure you
But
maybe deserve
in life,
the first
things
edition.
happen, right?
Like, you have to be a
Unfortunately,
little
good, bad, or ugly, you got to deal with it. And in the scope of life, we don't know the value, but they made a good effort.
Yeah,
It was an accident.
Yeah.
pretty much all of the things you're saying, not the a-hole. And so I think we kind of disagreed. We think they're being a little bit of an a-hole.
I really would like to know the price we're
Correct.
talking here. Like,
We
that's
don't know
what
the biggest piece.
That's what I want to know. Are we talking hundreds of dollars? Or are we talking thousands of dollars?
So, next.
Okay.
That's a big piece missing.
I was like, what was I going to do? I had my little
What was your anecdote?
rant.
Oh, yes.
So, this was about a month ago. I purchased for a book series that I was in the middle of. I like the UK covers more than the US covers. And so, someone set a website on TikTok that they use to like buy the other covers from the UK pretty affordably. Like, I was able to get 3 books for like $40, and I was like, that's pretty good actually. So I happily awaited their arrival. They shipped in 2 separate packages. I got one of them to my basement. I've been waiting for the other 2 books, and it was the most recent update on USPS was that they had been in the like nearest USPS thing, and then somehow got transported back to like the Des Moines one, and then as of most recently, May 11th, it was just like lost in transit, said it was arriving late. And so I've been patient, and I also like don't know what to do because I'm not sure what to do. So what I was able to find of what I thought I was supposed to do was like you can file like a missing mail claim on USPS. My whole point is I think USPS makes it actually impossible to try and do anything on their services or website. I did file a missing mail claim.
Do you get like errors or something?
Did my information. Oh my God.
Because I tried to use USPS too.
Stop.
What about
Hold
it?
on. So, I filed a missing claim, and it was basically like if they find my mail, they would try and send it to the address I put in. I get like a notification the next day saying that, oh, our most recent status shows as delivered. If that's not the case, like go in and update your search request. Otherwise, the missing mail request is going to be like deleted in the next 7 days. It was not delivered. It never was. And so I go into the link it literally has in my email of like, click here to update your search request to say like, no, it hasn't been delivered. I click it. All that happens is a loading page. A loading page that
I
never
hate
actually
technology.
loads
You guys
ever.
know it.
Then I'm like, how do I Then I'm just trying to go on the USPS website to find the claim that I did and like do it through the link. Impossible to try and figure out. Eventually, I end up on some page it's basically like a whole legal document of like,
oh my God,
this qualifies for a missing claim if section C, whatever. Like, it's so not user friendly. There is no link to just like go do something easily.
Right.
So at this point, I think I'm just out the
It's
two
almost
books. Like,
like
it's not gonna, I can't get the books anywhere. And so that was basically my complaint.
Yeah.
And,
that reminds me of when
yeah. And I found a Reddit thing of like, this has been like, I found a 3-year-old Reddit of people saying like this missing mail link would not load. And it's just like updates from like people being like 3 months ago, it still doesn't work. 2 months ago, this still doesn't work.
It's like when I make
And I don't
sales
think they want
calls.
it to work. I'm guessing they are leaving it so it doesn't work.
It reminds me of sales calls. The automated answering system, it's a dead end. You're not going to get anywhere. You can't get options you want. So you just, and then they say goodbye. You don't have an option to get anything. No extension. It just says goodbye. Not available. You just have to laugh. I hate technology. Anyway.
So if anyone knows how to help me out, let me know.
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember even what I was on USPS's website for. I think it's related to like a package or something where I was trying to figure out like if I was trying to ship something that had like a certain dimension, like it had to be a certain type of package.
Mm-hmm.
Like you couldn't like send it in a letter or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like trying to like work through their website and like I don't know if I had to print something and like make an account, but I was just getting like error after error after error trying to do that. And so that just reminded me
They
of
just
that.
want you to get off and leave it alone. And
It worked
lumps.
because holy cow.
yeah.
I was like,
Oh, we made an effort.
I am about to give up. So
Okay.
Okay.
Next one.
Next.
Am I the a-hole for telling my roommate to rehome, quote unquote, their dog or find a new place to live? My roommate took on a dog that for what was supposed to be 2 to 6 weeks or so, but it has now been 6 months with this full-grown dog that pees and poops in our house, often getting into children's toys, bedding, and books, gets into and destroys garbage, and both dogs they have get onto the counter or table and eat anything. My roommate's reaction to being upset and wanting something done is to now state the dog is theirs when previously ownership always belonged to their ex/baby daddy and is refusing to find a new living solution for him. They claim crates are inhumane and get mad when you lock them in their room because they'll destroy the bedroom. The roommate also claims this behavior is normal and any dog would do these things. They feel as though the messes are inevitable and maybe even sometimes they are, but sometimes, or they say multiple times a week, ? Here's why I don't know if I'm the a-hole. Is letting them know they need to find a new place for the dog like they were originally supposed to, or for them all, an appropriate reaction or uncalled for. Obviously, a lot has been going on, and there are a lot more things going that they've been doing as well. This isn't written the best. My other roommate is on my side about this all. They have felt the same about the issues the whole time.
So there's
Okay.
3 roommates?
That's what it sounds like.
Okay.
3 roommates
kids
and
or
a
something?
supposed temporary dog.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like as roommates, when you're bringing in another living creature, you have to be in agreement. So if the agreement was, this is only temporary, then
Yeah, I'm pretty
you
simple.
need to...
You signed up as individuals only, no pets. You got to keep it that way.
Yeah.
And the dog, if it's having as many accidents or like messes as they say, that's not normal. And so they should be put in like a crate or something. I have a crate and I guess it's just fine with it.
Do you have anything else to add for that one?
No.
No, not the a-hole.
Okay. Would I be the a-hole for refusing to go to my nephew's birthday party? I, 30-year-old female, have a brother and sister-in-law roughly the same age as me. They have 2 children, 8 years old and 10 years old. We were all at a family gathering when my sister-in-law's mother oddly commented, "I'm looking forward to seeing you at the nephew's birthday party tomorrow." Now this shocked me because despite knowing he had an upcoming birthday, I had heard nothing about any party and assumed there wouldn't be one this year, or that it was going to be late next week and invitations had yet to be sent. Clearly this was not the case, and I told her that I knew nothing about the party. She looked a bit awkward and apologized before changing the subject. Well, I was quite upset at the revelation that there was apparently a birthday party planned with family, but I hadn't been invited, and left shortly after that interaction. It's important to mention that while There has been some family tension since I split with my partner, as my brother was extremely close friends with him and often took his side. There have been many birthdays for kids and adults since, and I've been invited/attended them. After the family catch-up, I received a text from my brother inviting me to my nephew's birthday. There was nothing really to the text, just, oh, hey, nephew's birthday tomorrow if you're free. My knee-jerk reaction was no, I am free and I love my nephew, but I believe I was either outright forgotten or that I just wasn't invited. And now because the cat is out of the bag, he's inviting me to save face, so there's no issues for him not inviting her. I don't know that I want to walk around a birthday party hosted by two people who in all likelihood didn't want to have me there in the first place. Plus, because I knew nothing, I didn't even have a present for my nephew. But I'm worried about the potential long-term fallout of hurting my nephew's feelings.
I would say you got to go for your nephew.
That's easy. Just go for your nephew.
Put other
Delayed
feelings aside.
Invite or not.
Your nephew, like,
Your
no one's
nephew's
going to
a
tell
child.
your nephew the lore of, like,
Your nephew's a child, so all he's going to know is you're there or not.
That's easy. You got to go.
Like, you can't be like, sorry, little Johnny, but, like, your mom and dad didn't invite me, and they only invited me last minute, and so I just felt like out of principle I couldn't come because no one wanted me there. Johnny's like, what?
Yeah.
So
She's got to go.
Just go.
Especially if you have nothing going on. Like, the key thing is you would then just be staying home.
Just keep a good attitude and go and have fun
Solve
with
those
it,
problems
and maybe
some other
you'll
time.
get invited to the rest.
Okay. Next one. Am I the a-hole for not picking up my kids and making her take a $250 Uber ride home? My middle daughter, 18, has anxiety, more specifically anxiety of new places or experiences. You basically have to force her to do something for the first time or she will avoid it forever. She graduated high school and her friends wanted to go on a road trip. I was against it, but overall she is 18 and I can't force her not to go. I made it clear that I am not getting her if she wants to leave the trip. While they left Tuesday and were supposed to come back Sunday, I got a call asking her to pick me up. I think that's supposed to be the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
That she refused to go to the ocean beach and the friend group got into an argument. She is sitting in the car while everyone is on the beach. She asked me to come pick her up. I told her no. I wasn't leaving work to grab her. I told her she either pays to take an Uber home or joins her friends. In the end, she paid $250 to Uber home.
Wow.
After we got in a huge argument and she clearly thinks I'm a jerk. So, outside opinions, please.
I feel like if you're 18 and old enough to be deciding to go on said trip, then you gotta have a plan on how to get home.
I agree 100%. You committed. You need to expand and try to work around your anxiety, and you committed. You got to work through it and do it.
Yeah. I'm like, I think it's great that she tried, but you gotta have a plan B if it falls through and you want to come home.
I mean, the $250 Uber ride hurts, but
I mean,
that's
to be
your
honest,
call.
I have honestly the most I've probably paid for an Uber is like $100, but like to get home, if that's really what you want to do, like that's not the worst thing in the world.
Obviously, she has anxiety, so it was worth it to her. But she's, I assume, trying to what's the right word? Deal with her anxiety, and you gotta stay there, and that's your next step.
I mean, she gave her, she was
trying
like, you
to
can either
overcome
work
it.
this out with your friends if it's like an argument or something you're having, or you can pay for yourself to go home. Which one is it for you? And she said, I'm going to take the Uber home. So, not the a-hole.
I don't have any more, so.
We'll call that good since we're basically done with time, and this last one's kind of one we've covered a similar one, so.
All right. Well, hopefully this was fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening, and
I feel like we all have
sharing your
pretty
thoughts.
similar opinions.
I agree.
It likely has to do with the fact that you raised us, so.
A lot of stuff too. I
Not
feel
saying it's always for sure right.
I feel like
we all have our opinions.
most people globally, I do feel like there is kind of like a quote unquote right answer or like a more common
Accepted
opinion.
answer.
So probably just like most people would think what we are, but I could be wrong.
If you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you give us a like, or you can review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. We have a video version on YouTube. If you search according to podcast, we should pop right up. You can subscribe over there.
And we will talk to you guys next Thursday.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. All right.
Bye.
Bye.